Hi Swagat, very good morning here. I'm Akhil Hamad. I'm resident of Chennai. So, I'm in IT industry since last 3 years, and I'm looking to upskill myself in GCP at engineering side. That's why I'm here. So that's the introduction about myself.
Jayashree? Jayashree, you can unmute and speak.
Yeah, Ganesh. Okay, I am speaking in a unmute only. Okay, sorry. And this is Jayashree here, and I am working in Wipro as a Google GCP consultant, and I am experiencing Google Workspace and certified in Google Workspace administrator, and looking forward to learn GCP as well. And I'm basically from Andhra, and as of now I'm staying in Bangalore.
Arshad?
Hi Ganesh and Swagat. I'm Arshad Merchant, based out of Mumbai, and I've been in the IT industry for the last 18 years, working for CTS Tech, and looking forward for this course to upgrade myself on GCP. Thank you.
Jitin?
Yeah, hi. My name is Jitin. I have close to 7 years of experience. I'm working in UST Global as a SQL Server database developer. So I'm looking myself to upskill into GCP data engineering.
Okay. Satish?
Hi, I'm Satish here. I have a 14 years of experience in IT, and I want to upgrade myself to this GCP.
Okay. And Srikar?
Hi everyone, good morning. Myself Shekhar, and I'm working for Capgemini, around 8 years of experience on a data engineer, and I'm looking forward to just well versed with the cloud technologies. GCP.
And Venkat, last. Venkat, can you hear us?
Yes, I am a DBA. I'm SQL Server DBA, and I'm looking for GCP data engineering to improve my skills. That's it.
Yes, Swagat, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sure. Hi guys. So myself, Swagat, and I'm having around more than 8 years of experience in IT, and particularly in GCP. So I have been working for past 3-4 years in GCP, and I'm also working as a data engineer. So let me share my screen. Am I audible to everyone?
No,
Yeah,
can
yeah,
you
yeah.
repeat once again? Can you repeat?
Okay, so myself, Swagat, and I'm having 8+ years of experience in IT, and particularly in GCP. So I've been working for past 3-4 years in GCP. So let me share my screen, and I have some more details about the course. So let me share the screen. Everyone is able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this course we have designed mainly for the GCP data engineering purposes. So whatever the services of GCP that are relevant for a data engineer, for a GCP data engineer, we are going to cover all of those services along with the hands-on as well. Okay, so along with the project and along with the hands-on, we are going to cover, even like we are going to cover a lot more than what a data engineers are needs to know on the GCP, particularly on the GCP services. And this is about me. So I have a couple of certification in GCP, and in GCP particularly I have been working for past 3-4 years. in various projects. So so this course, like this is the about the professional data engineering certification exam. Particularly, if anyone is interested to take up the certification exam of GCP. So in that exam, they will ask you around 50 to 60 kind of questions, objective type of questions, and you so there is no passing mark. So they'll just show you whether you have passed that exam or not. So they will test your skills on different GCP services, which we are going to cover in the course. And so you need to practice a lot. Like if anyone is interested, it's not mandatory for everyone to clear the certification. Like if you even want to work as a GCP data engineer, but if anyone is interested, so you need to practice a lot of hands-on in all of the GCP services, and then you can definitely able to clear the certification. And it will cost you around $200 or $175 for the registration fee, and then you can take up the exam. So there is no pass mark, and it will just show you whether you have passed or failed. There is no kind of mark they will show you. Apart from GCP data engineering exams, so there are also other exams for different kinds of professional, for the architect, for cloud developer, for DevOps professional. So there are other certification exams, just how it is there in other cloud services vendor, like in AWS and Azure. Similarly, in GCP also, they have different certification exam for all the other professional as well. But in this course, we are primarily focusing on the GCP data engineering exam. So this is the like cost of the exam, around $200 it will cost. And so how to practice it? So you can create a free tier GCP account, and you using your credit card. So in your free tier account, you will get around $300 of the credit, and we are whatever the hands-on we are going to practice or the project we are going to do. So definitely you will be able to do, you will be able to complete all those projects within that $300 of the credit. And that $300 of the credit on your free trial account, it will be valid for the 3 months period. So you'll be able to do a lot of hands-on. After that also, there will be some credit left, which you can obviously utilize it. So I'll tell you like in the class how to create the GCP free tier account if anyone is not able to create it, but it's just straightforward. If you have a credit card account, credit card, you can go ahead and create GCP free tier account. You just need to have a Gmail ID. So a new Gmail ID you need to use, which you have not used earlier to create any other GCP account. So you can use that Gmail ID and a credit card. That's it. And particularly coming to the course, in this course, what we are going to cover. So let me show you the slide. So in this slide, whatever you are seeing, so those course is designed even for a beginner level. So if someone is coming from a different background and he needs to work on, he needs to understand the GCP data engineering or data engineering, what a data engineer do, and the GCP services. So we have designed this course in such a way that even a beginner can also take up this course, and he will be able to understand all the GCP services, how they work. So we'll start with the data engineering concept, and like the different types of data engineering processing and what are the types of data. And then we'll come to the GCP fundamental, because obviously, like if someone does not know about the PySpark, Python, SQL, these 3 languages are also important for a data engineer to know. Even if you don't know Python with Spark, and if you know Scala with Spark, so that is also fine. But in this course, we are also going to provide you the crash course on Python, SQL, and PySpark. Even somebody does not know these 3 languages, we are going to do the crash course on it. But I'll also recommend you to brush up your concept on this. Like if somebody is moving to data engineering field, so they need to know all these languages. Without this, like you'll not be able to work as a data engineer. And then coming to the GCP services. So after covering all these things, like after covering the database, data engineering concept, OLTP or OLAP and other like data modeling concept, data warehousing concept, and then doing the crash course on the Python, SQL, and PySpark, will enter into the GCP services. So where we are going to cover only the GCP services. So we'll start with the fundamental services. We'll start with the GCP services and we'll just a minute, guys. Just, are you hearing any background noise?
No.
Yeah, your voice is also breaking.
Is it fine now? Is it fine?
Okay.
So in the GCP fundamental services, we are going to cover the GCP regions and zones concept, and then the other GCP services like GCP, IAM, GCP roles, how to assign the roles and how to keep the permission. Then we are going to cover the Kubernetes services, which is present in the GCP. For example, Google Kubernetes services, and then the Google App Engine and the Google Compute Engine. So these are the services which we are going to cover in the GCP Basic Services. After that, move to the storage services. So in the way we have different services for the different types of data. So we have cloud storage, we have GCP block storage, and other databases services like Cloud SQL. You can also see on my screen. So Cloud SQL, file store, data store, memory store, big table. So all of these database products we are going to cover. Okay. And then once we'll cover the storage services, we are going to cover the data processing services. So what are the processing platform are available for data processing? Like for example, BigQuery, which is the data warehousing platform. Along with the BigQuery, like nowadays as a data engineer, we are also using DBT. You might have heard about DBT and Dataform. So we are also going to cover DBT, which is the data build tool. It's a third-party tool. It's not available in GCP, but you can use the data build tool along with any other data warehousing solution, whether it is BigQuery or Snowflake. So we are going to cover that. And then we are also going to cover the data form. And then we are going to also cover the POPSOP, which mainly we use for the streaming processing of the data. So there are two types of processing of the data. One, you'll in some project, you'll find they are just dealing with the batch processing. And in some project, they'll find they're doing the streaming processing of the data. So as soon as the data is getting generated, they are processing the data. So the POPSOP mainly we use POP, which is known as the publisher and subscriber. So that is we are going to use, and we'll see how to use the POPSOP in order to process the streaming data. And then we have data flow, data proc, data fusion, cloud composer. So all of these processing services we are going to cover. Cloud composer, you might have heard about Airflow, so which is again but in GCP, so the cloud Airflow is the cloud composer is nothing but it's a managed Airflow services. So it is present inside the GCP. So we are also going to see how to use the cloud composer, because in data engineer, like as a data engineer, you are going to create some data pipeline, and how you are going to orchestrate that pipeline. So orchestration means how you are going to schedule that pipeline, how you are going to create the dependencies among the pipeline. So all those things we are going to see what will be your upstream pipeline, what will be your downstream pipeline, how your data is going to flow, what is the source of your data. After that, doing some transformation operation where you are going to store your data, what is the destination. So all of these things you need to define in your pipeline, and that pipeline you need to orchestrate using some orchestration tool. And Airflow is one of the orchestration tool which mainly used in most of the data engineering project. And in Google Cloud, we have something called Cloud Composer, which is nothing but a managed Airflow services. And we are also going to do the project and hands-on on the Airflow. Then we have data catalog and DLP API, so which is mainly used for the metadata management. So metadata means like if you have some tables in BigQuery, and then you'll generate some metadata information about that tables, right? So how to manage those metadata, we are also going to see in that using the data catalog services. And after that, we are going to see some machine learning services. So these are not very important for you as a data engineer, but for the certification perspective, as I told, if you're going to attend the certification, you need to have, like, you'll get some questions from this area as well. From the machine learning services, you'll get some questions. So that's why we are going to cover the machine learning part. Also, as a data engineer, if you are working in a project where you need to work closely with a data scientist team, so there, though you are not going to build any kind of machine learning model, but still you need to have some knowledge on the machine learning part. So that is what we are also going to cover. And this is what how we have designed our course. If you have any questions, you can ask. Anybody have any doubt, or I'll go ahead and do the demo then.
Is it mandatory to learn Python?
Yes, if you're going to work as a data engineer, like if you are going to do some kind of if your role is just a cloud architect or some manager, then you don't need. But if you are working as a data engineer, yeah, Python is needed. It's not mandatory to learn Python. Either you can learn Scala also, but you need to have some programming knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know, like if because some of you are having 10, 11 years of experience. So I don't think you are going to work as a data engineer, like you'll do all the work. You may need to just to manage the team, manage the data engineering team, but I don't think you'll do the actual work. So, but if you are going to do the actual work, based on your roles that you might have, you might know it better, then you need to know Python. I will advise you to learn Python, but in some project also they are using Scala as well, Scala with Spark. But you need to know, I'll suggest to learn Python. Is not that difficult. Anyone, anybody else has any question?
In real time, Scala or which one they are using, Python or Scala?
So there are many projects. Okay, like it's not. If I'll say, let's say out of 100, 70%, 70% of the project they are using Python. In 30%, you will find Scala with Spark. It's not. That's why I told it's not mandatory. In also you'll get some project where they will just looking for the Scala knowledge. But yeah, but most of the project where they will find they are looking for somebody who is having knowledge in Python at all.
So Swagat, primarily for developing the pipelines, which is the most frequently used language?
Language we are using Python, as I told, Python and PySpark and SQL.
Okay, thank you.
And it all varies from project to project. See, in some project, see how they create a pipeline. So for example, they are using some kind of, let's say there is a raw layer, and then they have let's say staging layer, and then they have your data warehousing layer or your final layer. So it all depends how they are going to build that layer. Okay, in some project they will find they are just using SQL. They are not using any Python, anything. SQL means they have built the complete pipeline using the BigQuery. They are not using any other tool. So everything, all the layer they have built using the BigQuery. And if you are using BigQuery, then you don't need to know Python. You just need to know the BigQuery concept, how you can write SQL query in an optimized way, how you can leverage the capacity of the BigQuery. So all those things you need to know. And along with the language, from the language perspective, you need to know SQL, and that is fine. In some project, you'll find they are using Dataproc. So if they are using Dataproc, so Dataproc is nothing but it's a managed big data cluster. So you might know about Hadoop, and the Spark ecosystem. So earlier we used to build the cluster and everything on the on-premises. But right now, when the cloud comes, so data proc is nothing but a managed cluster. You can create whatever the configuration you want. So you can create that cluster in the GCP using the data proc service. And if you are using data proc services, so here, since they are using the big data services, you'll find they are using Spark. Okay, along with Spark, they might be using Hive. So either PySpark or Scala Spark, anything they can use. So here you need to know Python or Scala. So you need to know. Okay, so it all depends on project and project. In some opening, you'll find they are just looking for the BigQuery knowledge and SQL. They are not looking for Python, anything. Also, it all varies from project to project. But in general, maximum project, if you'll see, so they are looking for Python, SQL, and PySpark. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Any questions you have?
Here we don't use any pipeline like that.
Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you please repeat your question?
Pipeline. We'll be using any pipeline.
Yeah, pipeline. So all the services which I told, right? So for example, if you want, so we are using data flow, you can create pipeline. You can use data fusion to create pipeline. Anything you can use, like you can, there are different like services, and it all depends on your project, on your requirement, which services you can choose. So mostly the project architect, so they actually decide based on their requirement and based on the costing and all. So they decide to go for which services. Okay, so that is how they decide.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Planning, you're saying data fusion we can use, right?
Yeah, so I'll talk about data fusion. It's not like we can complete it on the one class. So you can use, so there are multiple services. Okay, there is data proc, there is data fusion, there is data flow. So you can use all these services to create your pipeline. Okay, so each of the services has its own importance. For example, data fusion, if you are using, okay, if you have some idea about the data factory, so data factory is a low code services. Low code means you don't need to know much of coding knowledge there. So similar kind of services is data fusion. Okay, or for example, if you have any idea about the Informatica and all, so in Informatica also you don't need to know the coding. Okay, so you can just create some block and you can do drag and drop and you can create your pipeline. Similarly, same thing you can do in the data fusion. Obviously, it is not completely similar to Informatica, but you can consider it as it's a no code or a low code services where you don't need to know much of coding, but still you can create, you can build your data pipeline. Okay, so similarly, in case of data flow, we are something called we have called Apache Beam. We are using Apache Beam scripting. Okay, so the way how you'll write your pipeline in Apache data flow, it's different way you have to write. So each of the services has its own importance, and we'll discuss about more on the class. Okay. So there, you can say there are multiple options are there. Yeah, so it is the similar case in all the cloud services. Okay, there is no fixed approach. Like this is the service which you have to use in all the project to build your pipeline. As I told, so let's say there are 3 layers in the data engineering project. You will find like there will be raw layer, or there will be something called silver layer, and then there will be your bronze layer, and then there will be your gold layer. So you will find that people are using, let's say, GCS. So GCS means the Google Cloud Storage Services. And in the bronze layer, let's say they are using BigQuery or data flow, or they are using data proc or data fusion, something they are using. In a gold layer also they are using almost same thing. So we have multiple options, and each of these services has its own importance. Okay. So for example, in BigQuery, you don't need to know the Python language. You can just use the SQL and you can write your code in BigQuery. Similarly, the other platforms, Dataproc, as I told. So if you want to create a big data cluster, so let's say, for example, in your project, you are migrating from the big data ecosystem to Google Cloud. And in your existing project, you were using some kind of big data cluster, which was having, let's say, one master node and three worker node, right? So when you are migrating to the big data ecosystem, you don't have any option apart from the data prop, because if you want to create a similar type of cluster which you were using earlier, you don't have any option except the data prop. So you will have to use the data prop in that case. So that's why I told it's about your requirement, it's about your project. Okay, so based on which you have to decide. There is no such hard and fast rule like this is the service of BigQuery. This is the service of GCP you will have to use for your pipe to create your pipeline. Okay, so it's all varies from project to project. That is why we are going to cover all the services of GCP, which are particularly relevant for the data engineer. There are many services in GCP, but the services which are relevant for a data engineer to know. So we are going to cover everything. Anybody else? Anyone has any question?
Master 3 worker nodes means in on-premises, you are saying Hadoop cluster that has been migrating to Dataproc, right?
Correct.
Okay, fine.
Swagat, are we going to see anything like performance tuning in BigQuery or like so SQLs?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Anyone else has any question? Okay, so then let me start the demo. So in this demo, let me explain about what we are going to see. So we are going to use BigQuery. Okay, so in this demo, we are going to use BigQuery. We are going to use cloud storage, and we are going to use the DBT, which I told. So DBT is nothing but a data build tool. You can just search in Google what is DBT. So you'll find like there are it's very popular, and like many data engineering project, they are using DBT. Okay, so if you'll see, they just search for DBT BigQuery or DBT. So this is the DBT, and it's a third-party tool which you can use for your data transformation to create your data pipeline. So you can use the DBT. DBT is not available in GCP. It's a third-party tool. But you can see like if you are using Snowflake, if you are using Redshift, if you are using Postgre, so these are all the competitor of the BigQuery, which exist in different platforms. So where you can use the DBT to create your data pipeline. So that is what we are going to see in the DBT. So what we'll see, like we are going to use, as I told, we'll have different layers. Let's say we'll read the data from BigQuery, and then we'll do some transformation. And after doing the transformation, we'll also do the transformation using BigQuery. And then after doing the transformation, the tables we are again going to store in the BigQuery. So all these things we are going to do using the DBT. Okay, so DBT is nothing but a data build tool. How to install DBT on your local system and how to do the setup for the DBT. So those things I'll explain in the class. It's not possible to explain everything on the demo. But just remember that DBT has two flavors. It has two versions. One is not two versions, two flavors. One is DBT core, another one is DBT cloud. Okay, so DBT core is the free version which you can use on your local system and you can use it. DBT cloud is completely UI based tool. Okay, so if you are using DBT cloud, it's a paid version. It has different kinds of subscription plan, and based on your requirement you can use any of the subscription plan. But in this demo we are going to use the DBT core. So what we are going to see, we have a data file, okay, or data set. So that data set we have stored in our GCS bucket. Okay, so in the GCS bucket we have stored, I have uploaded the data set. So if you'll see, if you'll go to here, so this is how the BigQuery console looks like. And you can see here, so this is a free tier account which I have created. And so once you create a free tier account, I created it 1 month before. So you'll get 90 days of free credit. And this much credit. So if you are working from different location, from US or from somewhere else, so this credit you may see in the dollar. But since I'm in India, so this is so you'll get this much credit, 24,000 some credit, free trial credit, which you can use to use all of these GCS services. Okay, and if you'll go to this navigation menu, so here you can see all the services. Okay, so IAM services, and then the compute engine, Kubernetes engine, Google Cloud Storage, BigQuery, Cloud Run, SQL, PopServe, Dataproc, you can see. And if you'll expand this more product, you can see the services for each of the section. For example, for compute, we are going to use, like we have all of these services in GCP. We have compute engine, Google Kubernetes engine, and then all of this VMware engine. So all these things you can use for the computation purposes. Similarly, for the storage, we have file storage and then cloud storage, data transport. And similarly for databases, we have all of these options in Google Cloud. Similarly for the data preparation for CI/CD, and for analytics, we have Composer, Dataproc, Dataflow, BigQuery, Looker, Dataplex. So all of these services are available. Similarly for artificial intelligence or machine learning, we have all these services. Okay, so this is how the Google Cloud Console looks like. And once you create a free tier account, you will also get this much of credit with a 90 days of validity. And when that credit is going to expire, so everything you'll be able to see on the billing window. So if you, from the navigation window, if you go to billing, so you'll be able to see all of this information. And after that, what I have done, so if I'll go to my cloud storage bucket, so this is the cloud storage bucket which I have created. So inside the bucket, I have stored my file, or I have stored my data set, which I am going to use for this demo. So this is the data set, college scorecard CSV file. So this is the CSV file which I have uploaded just now, today only, before the class I have uploaded. And so this is the bucket. Inside the bucket, I have stored my data set. Okay, so now as I
Swagat, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to know this college scorecard CSV. Have you downloaded from a public data set?
Yeah, it is available from in public data set. I think in Kaggle or in GitHub it was available.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if you want to, I have opened it. So you can also see scorecard. So this is the data set. It's available in some public platform. I can provide you the link either in GitHub or Kaggle, somewhere it was available. So this is the data set. Okay. I think it is having this many number of rows. So this is the data set. So I have already uploaded this data set into the bucket. So this is the bucket which I have created, and the bucket location, you can see it is I have created in the US location with the standard storage class. So there are different storage class also in the bucket. And then I have uploaded this file. So now what I am going to do, I'll create a table in BigQuery to use my bucket. Okay. To use. So in order to create a table, so I'll first create. So what I'm, let me check what is the table I'm using. So this is the big DBT transformation steps. Okay. So if you'll see inside this, I have this one. So I have the DBT setup. Okay. So all of this folder will be created by DBT. You don't need to create. If you'll see here, and each of the folder has certain importance. For example, analysis, then macros, models, seeds, snapshot, target, test. All these folders you don't need to create. Okay. So it will be created by the DBT when you will do the setup, initial setup. All this project will be, all these folders will be created by DBT. But the transformation step which you want to do, so that you have to write. So based on your requirement, you have to write the logic. You will have to write the SQL script. So let me talk about each of the folder. So inside the analysis and DBT packages, so you don't need to know, for example, logs. So it will having the all the log details. Okay. So when you are running some DBT pipeline, so all those logs, whatever the log will be generated, it will be inside the analysis folder, sorry, logs folder. Then inside the DBT package, so if you are using any package, for example, in this pipeline, I'm not using any package. So if you are using any external package, so that you can store inside the DBT package folder. And then similarly macros. So macros, I'm using one of the macro. Macro means if you are doing some repetitive task, and in order to avoid that, you can create a macro. So for example, if you have knowledge about Python, Notepad++, in some point of your time, you might have created macros in Notepad++ or Excel, and you might have called that macros multiple times to do some repetitive. Okay. Or in Python, if you have used in Python, you can call it, we can create a function, and that function we can call multiple times. Okay, right? So you can, whenever we have to do some kind of repetitive task, instead of writing that step again and again, you can just define that step in a separate folder or in separate file, and then you can call it macro, and then with that macro name, you can call it, and whenever we want to do that transformation, we can just call that macro. We don't need to write that step again and again. So for example, here I have in DBT macro, I have created one macro to clean up some data. To clean up the numeric data, I have created the macro. So here you can see I have created this using this function create and replace function. So this is completely SQL script. Okay. So here I have created the macro, and this is from I am passing X string, any column name. In place of X, X is the argument. In place of X, you can pass any column name, whether that is male, female, or any column name. And if that column is having null, or if that column is having something value like privacy suppressed, so then I'll cast that column as float. Otherwise, that column will be listed as null. Okay, so that is what we to create this macro. This is the structure. So the logic, whatever you want, you can write. Okay, any logic. But if you are using DBT, so you will have to follow this step. You will have to follow this. So macro, and then your macro name, and then you'll have to end it with end macro. Steps. This is how you the structure you have to follow. Then after that, whatever the transformation you want to create, you can do that inside your macro. So this macro name is cleanup numeric macro, and it will see inside the model. Okay, so I have the model folder. Inside the model, I am calling all this macro. Okay, so my first raw layer is the scorecard. Okay, so this is my initial layer. So this is the model. Okay, you can treat it as a model, or you can call it, you can consider it as the layer. Okay, so in the first model, I am creating this college scorecard table. Okay, so in this college scorecard table, so you can see, so I'm calling the macro which is I have just now defined, clean up numeric macro. So that macro I am calling here, and I'm passing all these column name. So all this column name, if you'll see, it is coming from this file. Okay, so in this file you'll find all those column names. And so now after calling the column name, then I am creating this table. I am creating this model. Okay, so right now when I'll run this script, so it is going to run on top of the BigQuery. Okay, so because here I'm using dbt with BigQuery, so it is going to consume the BigQuery compute infrastructure or BigQuery compute engine, and it is going to run on top of BigQuery. So right now I'll see, so this, whenever you are running on the, so here you can see this is my table name. So if you have knowledge on the SQL, so this is how, like, whenever you want to extract any data from a table, you have to write in this way, like select star column names and then from the table name. So right now you can see my table name is this one. Okay, college scorecard GCS is my table name, and this table, before this table there is a dot, right? And then before that dot there is something named ch4. So that is known as your data set name. Okay, so it is going to search inside this data set name with this table name. So right now what I have to do, I'll have to create a data set. So let me go to my BigQuery. I'll create a data set with that name ch4. I'm not talking about the location now. I just I'm going with the default option. Let me create a data set in ch4. Okay. Then inside the data set, I am going to create the table. So this is my data set. I am going to create table. So let me create a table. So for this table, I'll give the name. So whatever the name I have given here, so let me copy and give the same name. So right now, when you are creating the table in BigQuery, there are multiple ways how you can create a table. Either you can extract the data from cloud storage, or you can directly upload from your local, or you can upload it from the drive, from the Google Drive, or you can upload it from the Google Bigtable, from Amazon S3, or from the Azure Blob Storage. Okay, so you can use any of these options. Right now, my data is available inside the Google Cloud Storage. So I'll select the cloud storage. Once I selected the cloud storage, it is asking me which location, which bucket location on which I'm going to create my table. So I know my data is available inside this bucket, and this is the file which I'm going to use. So it has automatically detected the file is in CSV format. This is the project. Okay, so this is the project name inside which I have my data set present. Data set name is ch4, and then the table name which I have copied, I'll keep that table name, and I'll detect the schema as auto schema detect. So it will automatically detect all the column names. If you want to enter your column name explicitly along with the data type, along with the length, you will also have that option. But I have lots of column name, I don't want to give that, and there are other ways also to give the column name. So right now I'll just go ahead with the auto detect option, and I'll create my table. Sure, all the fields are clustering, no partition. Wait. Comma delimiter header rows to skip one. Let me enter it again. Create create table from the cloud storage. I'll choose the bucket and then I'll put my table name. I'll auto detect the schema and then the header rows. I have one header, so I want to skip that header rows. Let me create it. So it has created a load job in BigQuery, okay, and you can see that job as well. So if now it has triggered that load job. If that job will run successfully or it will fail, so you can see the status of the job as well in the history, in the BigQuery history. So I'll show you how you can see the status of the job as well. So now it has created the load job and the BigQuery page will not refresh automatically. Okay, so in order to refresh, you'll have to refresh either you can see here the refresh the content or you have to refresh the page. So best is to, if you refresh the page, complete thing will refresh. But you can just click on here and refresh the content. So it will replace the content. It will not automatically get refreshed. So you'll have to refresh it manually. Okay, and this is how you can refresh it by clicking on the refresh content. So now you can see I have my table available, which is this name college scorecard table is available. You will not be able to see the data because there are lots of data, but still you can see some of the data. Like if you go to preview, so the data we can see here table from the table whether all the data has been loaded correctly or not. So you can see all these table name, column names, and the data. Okay, and the schema details of the table as well. So these are the column name and the schema details. So all these things you can see. Now I have my table. Okay, this is my destination table. This data warehousing bike sharing. So I have just named it like that, but you can rename it. You can give some meaningful name. But right now, I don't have any table inside this data warehousing data set. So I am going to use this data warehousing data set as my destination table. Okay, this is my source table or source data set. This is my destination table, and whatever the transformation I am going to do, all of this transformation I have mentioned inside my all the model or transformation, whatever I am going to do, everything I have mentioned inside the DBT logic. So here right now up to this point, I hope all of you are clear. I am just reading all these columns from my source data set, which is the college scorecard GCS data set, which I created just now. After creating this college scorecard data set or college scorecard model in DBT term, we call it model. Okay, so this is, you can call it the input model or college scorecard model. So this college scorecard model or table we are going to use as the input inside this model. Okay, so this is the another model. After doing some transformation, we are creating this selective fast gen model or table. You can see here I am using in the from after from I'm referencing to my first model, which is the college scorecard model. And then I am doing some other transformation, like I'm selecting the columns value which are greater than 1300 and then the rate less than 0.2. So all of the transformation I have mentioned, and then I am selecting some columns. So this is the second model which I created. And then you can see this is my third model. Okay, so selective fast gen top 10. So after creating the second model, I just want to select only the top 10 rows. Okay, so in order to select that top 10 rows, I am referencing my second model, which is the selective fast gen. So now you understood the pipeline. So first we created, first I have my source data set. using the source data set, I created my second model or second table, you can call it, but in DBT term, we call it model. And then after creating the second model, we are creating the third model. Okay. And in the third model, we are referencing the second model. And here, as you can see, I'm creating a view. Okay. So either you can create table or you can create views. Okay. So for the first two model, for college scorecard and selective fast chain, I'm creating the table. Since I have not mentioned anything, so by default it's going to create a table. In the last one, it is going to create the view. Okay. Now, so you have something called, I'm not going to talk about the test and target because I'm not using it for this project, but each of, let's say you have some test use cases. So all these test use cases you are going to store inside the test. And then the target is it will automatically generate your run result and it will put inside, it will compile result. So everything it will put inside your target and compile folder. Okay. So for the seed and all those things, I'll talk about later in the class. What is the use of seed? When you can use the seed, how, mainly just for your reference, seed is used to directly upload the data from your local system to some table. Okay. So that is where we are going to use the seeds. Then another important file is the DBT project file. So whatever the transformation you have written with the macros you have created and the model you have created. So all of those configuration setting, all of the configs you are going to write inside your DBT project. So DBT project, so this is your project. Okay. So my project name is DBT BigQuery demo, and then some config version I can put. So all the configuration details you need to mention here. So my profile name is DBT BigQuery demo profile. And then I have my target path. So where I'm going to store all my compilation result or my run result, where I'm going to store. And then when I am going to create my macros, so this is my macro, right? Clean up numeric macro. So that macro I'm going to create once I'll start on my run. So before the run start, I'm going to create my macros. And then I have defined my model. So this is the structure, how you need to define a YML file. So YML file is a format of the file mainly we use for the configuration settings. To describe the configuration settings, we are going to use the YML file format. So this is how you need to define. So my profile name is DBT BigQuery demo. So remember this profile name. And then I'm going to create tables, like I'm going to create a college scorecard table, which will be a table, whether it will be a table or view. So that I have mentioned. And then I'm going to create selective fast chain table, selective fast chain top 10 table. So the third model, and that is the view. I'm not going to create table. So that will be a view. Then your profile name. So it should match. See, right now the question will come to your mind. Okay, this is how we have written it in my local system. But how the BigQuery, which is exist on the Google Cloud platform, how it is going to connect with my local system. Okay, so we are going to discuss about that. So now the profile name. So the profile name is DBT BigQuery profile name. So that is something called as dot profile. Okay. So once you will store your you want to install your DBT core on your system, by default inside your C user, inside user you will find dot DBT profile. Okay. So by default it will be created. You don't need to create it. You don't need to create it. By default it will be created. But so whenever you are going to interact with any of the data warehousing platform, be it BigQuery, be it Snowflake, be it Redshift, you have to make changes in that profile file. So right now you can see this is my profile file. So if I'll open my profile file, as you can see, so this is the same profile name I have mentioned, right? So in the project you saw, the profile name is DBT BigQuery demo. So with that same profile name, it will search inside this profile file. And inside the profile file, as you can see, I'm going to use the data warehousing bike sharing data set, which I have created, and there is no file. And then there is something called JSON file. So this is the file which is having all my project details. So there is something called service account. So for your reference, just remember there is something called service account. Okay. So service account, when you are using for all the non-human interaction, we are going to use the service account. So for example, right now I'm going to interact from my local machine to my Google Cloud, right? So for all of this non-human interaction, you can use the service account. And what I have done, so I have created my service account. For that service account, I have generated some JSON key. I have generated some JSON keys, and you can see the structure of the service account looks like this. So these are all the JSON key information. Using this private key, I am going to authenticate my local machine to interact with the GCP services, whether it is BigQuery, cloud storage, whatever it is. So using the service account, I'm going to interact. Okay. If the permission is not granted to that service account, then your local machine, which is using that service account, they will not be able to interact with the GCP services. So that permission has to be granted to that particular service account. Okay. So it is very, very important which service account you are using and what are the roles and permission have been granted to that service account. Okay. So based on that, you are going to access all the GCP services. So now I might face any error because this is a new account and I have not tested it. I have created a service account. If there is some roles which are missing for that service account, I may get some error. Okay, but we'll see that, and if I face any error, I'll resolve it. So this is how you have to do the setting. You have to make changes inside your profile file. Similarly, you can see if you are going to interact as with a Snowflake. Okay, so I also work in Snowflake platform as well. So let's say if you are using Snowflake with dbt, so this is how the configuration you have to mention. Okay, and then you have to change your project name and the key file where the JSON key file where all your project details are present. So that JSON key file I have provided, and then you have to save it. So now it is saved. Now I'll go to my project. I'll go to my terminal. Okay. So inside the terminal, as you can see right now, we are inside a virtual environment. Okay. So inside the base virtual environment, I'll activate another virtual environment, which I have set up particularly for the dbt BigQuery. So inside the virtual environment, whatever the packages are needed to interact with the dbt, to interact with the BigQuery, I have installed all those, whatever the 2-3 packages are needed. So I have installed that inside the virtual environment. So that's why I activated that virtual environment. So as soon as I activated, now the environment got changed from base to dbt BigQuery, right? So right now, here you can, once my environment is activated, I can run all the dbt commands. Okay. So for example, the dbt command, first one is, will debug out everything, all the setting and everything will debug it before running, so that I'll get to know if all the setting, configuration setting, profile setting, everything is fine or not, everything, all of these are matching or not. So in order to do that, I'll run the dbt debug. Okay. So now it is running dbt debug, and it is checking all the profile file, and it is showing all checks passed. Okay. If there is any issue, if something is missing on your profile file, or if something is missing on your dbt project file, so you will get that error, or you will get that notification here. Okay. So this is just to debug all the settings, all the syntaxes. This is not checking your code, your logic. So this is just checking all your syntaxes all your profile setting, project setting, and if there is any missing, so it will give you the notification. And then the command is to run it. We have the command called run, because here we are using dbt, right? So the command to run your pipeline is dbt run. Okay, so right now I'll run, and it is going to show me how the table, which table it is going to use. Everything it is going to show me. So right now it is running. So it is just running one thread. You can see it has created a table with this many rows, this many space. And then the selective fast gen table it has created, right? With this many rows. And the last table it has created, which is a view, right? Because as I told, we have mentioned it as a view, not a table. So that's why it has created it as a view. Now you can see my run has successfully completed. It has created 3 tables. So there are some default dbt table it will create. So I forgot to comment out that. So that's why it has created some default table, because when you do the initial setup, by default some codes are there. So it is where which it will create some default table. I did remove it. So no need to worry about that. But the tables which I wanted to create, it has created all those 2 tables. So first one is college scorecard, and the next one is selective fast gen. And then the last table is the selective fast gen top 10. That is the view. Now you can go to your BigQuery, and the way I told, you can just refresh the content and you can see all those tables. So here, this is the college scorecard table. If you want to see the data, you can see the data here. Okay. What the syntaxes you have written. So based on that, it will create the table. And then the next model or next table was selective fast chain. You can also see the data here. Okay. And then the next one is your view. Okay. Forget about these 2. These were the default table which I forgot to remove, which were there in the dbt when you do the initial setup. So once you remove, it will not create these 2 tables. And then the last one, the third one was a view, and this is the table which it has created. So this is a view, and for the view, you cannot see the data, but you can query the data. Like if you want to query, if you want to run the query on the BigQuery console. So this is the BigQuery console. And if you want to run the query, you can run the query and you can extract the data from the view. Okay. So this was all about the demo. Related to the demo, if any questions you have, anything coming to your mind, you can ask me. Hello.
So Swagat, I mean, the session is good. So I just want to know the approach that you will be going ahead. Like, is it parallel? Is it practicing in parallel, or first you will show first you will explain and then show it, and then we practice later? How the session is going to be?
Yes. No. Yeah. Let me talk about the class. So the classes we usually take is from 9 to 10 p.m. IST. Okay. And to complete the syllabus, it will take around 30 to 35 days, not less than that. Maybe it will take more than 35 to 40 days, in between 40, it will be completed. And the classes, it's going to be like this. I'm not going to, you can practice, we'll create WhatsApp group, we'll be providing all the materials, course, PDF file, everything to you. you are going, I'll help you also to create the setup. You are going to practice. And if you have any doubt, you can mention, you can ask me in the class, or you can ask me in the WhatsApp chat. But it's not like it will like I'll practice and then I'll stop. I'll just like I'll let you to do the practice and I'll not do anything. So it's not like, it's not going to happen like that, because it is just 1 hour class every day we are going to do it. And so that's why like I'll be explaining you everything. If you have any doubts in between the class, definitely you can ask. And parallel practicing will not be possible. So I'll let you, you can go ahead and after the class you can practice. Everything will be shared with you. If you have any doubt, you can come back and you can ask me.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Only weekdays, not no weekends classes. Only on the weekdays, 5 days in a week, 30 to 35 days it will take. Anybody else? Okay, guys, if you don't have any question, then we can end the session. Whatever the feedbacks you have, you can let Ganesh know that, and he'll inform it. So yeah, thank you. Even if you want the recording, I think you can check with him. He'll provide you the recording.
I'll be sharing the recording video to everyone.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
And also, I'm planning to start this batch from like tomorrow, or if any rare cases, then it will go for like maximum Wednesday. So I'll talk to you personally one by one. You can let me know your availability. It will be at 9 p.m. daily, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. daily, Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. So maximum tomorrow I'm planning. If not, rare cases, it will go for like Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you.